What if I told you that a few practical changes in laws could stop wars raging in Africa and save innocent lives? The sale of diamonds has been used to pay for wars in Africa for over 40 years. In fact, Amnesty International called the diamond-fueled war still raging in the Dominican Republic of Congo the bloodiest war since World War II. However, simple changes and policies in place would help to effectively eradicate the conflict diamond trade and end these wars. The trade of conflict diamonds can be crippled by enacting new standards for what constitutes a blood diamond and by extending laws already in place to all members of the diamond trade. I'll explain the need for the elimination of the conflict diamond trade, present simple changes that would help to achieve this, and describe the practicality and feasibility of my proposed options. First, let me explain the current problem and its meaning to you, so that you understand the need for change. The trade of blood diamonds has directly affected millions of people in warring African countries who have seen the violence it causes. However, even people living on other continents like us are still part of the problem, but hopefully we can be part of the solution. Amnesty International estimates that the three largest fueled diamond conflicts alone, Sierra Leone, Dominican Republic of Congo, and Angola, over 4 million people have been killed and over double that have fled their homes. Today, the Dominican Republic of Congo is still facing these violent rebellions, and while Sierra Leone and Angola are at peace, new countries like Zimbabwe and the Ivory Coast have turned to diamonds to fund their civil conflicts. The UN reported this year that even with the diamond exportation ban, the Ivory Coast managed to smuggle out $23 million in blood diamonds, and with no ban in place on the oppressive Zimbabwean government, they managed to make $10 million from their diamonds. Even though we are separated from these wars by an ocean, the issue of conflict diamond involves all of us. As the most powerful country in the world, and the largest diamond buyer according to Geology.com, consuming more than 35% of the world's diamond production, it is our responsibility to do our part to eliminate the problem that we're helping to cause. Although progress has been made in slowing the trade down, simple changes would help to push conflict diamonds further towards extinction. My plan is simple. Make small changes in the UN definition of a conflict diamond in order to avoid exceptions, and tighten up the UN-crafted Kimberley process certification schemes. As it stands, the UN definition of a blood diamond is a diamond mined by a non-government force that is used to fund military action or opposition. The UN strictly follows this definition when deciding whether or not to take action. However, what happens when the one oppressively mining the diamonds to fund military action is the government, and the military action is against civilians? Well, this is exactly the case in Zimbabwe. BBC News reported on October 31st, government forces armed with attack dogs, guns, and helicopters opened fire on diggers at a diamond field in western Zimbabwe. BBC launched their own investigation of the diamond field, which is now under governmental control, and concluded that high-ranking government officials, including the president, are embezzling the money from the sale of these diamonds. In a country so poor that 100 trillion Zimbabwean dollars are equal to $3 US, is it fair that the government should embezzle money earned from the country's national resources and be protected from the UN because of poorly worded definitions? The circumstance can be avoided by simply changing the definition of a blood diamond to any diamond used to fund oppressive military action. The second course of action I propose is to tighten and broaden the Kimberley process certification. The Kimberley process was created in 2003 by the United Nations as a way to certify diamonds as conflict-free by creating a group of countries committed to the diamond trading standards set by the UN. The process monitors the activity of the countries mining the diamonds remarkably well, removing them from the organization if they fail to abide by the process's standards, including things like shipping in tamper-resistant containers and submitting to audits. However, where the Kimberley process falls short is in the private market. Being that it is UN-run, the certification parameters are set around the countries mining the diamonds and not the companies buying them. The companies involved in the market have much less restrictions and are self-regulated. Obviously, blood diamond smugglers see these companies as much more likely to submit to greed and buy their illicit diamonds, being that they're much less likely to get caught. My proposal is to implement the Kimberley process regulations on all companies participating in the diamond trade, being that they should have the same social responsibility as any other member of the diamond industry, including national governments. With the stricter certification structure in private diamond businesses, conflict diamond trade would have a much harder time finding buyers to risk the reputation. This change to a broader definition and a stricter structure in all areas of the market is not only effective but also practical and realistic. Being that it is a matter of human rights and that the changes that need to be made are relatively simple and non-invasive, I expect virtually no resistance. Unless they are guilty of their own human rights violations, the countries already abiding by the Kimberley process should have no problem changing the definition to encompass abuses by governments too. The only one who would argue against it is Zimbabwe, being that they are guilty under the new definition, but it ultimately would be as easy as a majority vote in the UN. Implementing the Kimberley process as standards for countries onto the private sector of the diamond market would not be much harder. All of the major international diamond companies are already members of the World Diamond Council, whose mission statement is to control and eliminate diamonds considered illegal by the UN or the Kimberley process standards, according to their website. The 9 major diamond companies and other smaller diamond manufacturing and trading companies already have representatives in the World Diamond Council, so all that would be needed is for the Kimberley process standards that are set to countries be applied to the World Diamond Council. I also expect little friction in implementing this, judging by the relatively easy adaptation of the Kimberley process and the cooperation shown by them to eradicate the problem. After hearing the need for the elimination of conflict diamond trading and the realistic and effective changes that could help accomplish this, I hope you understand how easy it is to save hundreds of thousands of lives. The need for change is great, with countries and smugglers slipping through the loopholes. A slight adjustment to the wording of the definition of conflict diamond and extension of Kimberley process guidelines into the private market is all it takes to substantially reduce conflict diamonds. Doing this is not only practical and doable, but also responsible. These changes could also help to shut out conflict diamonds altogether, ending a problem that has gone on far too long. As Americans, we need to stop fueling the problem and instead work to fix it.